We currently have a big problem. Yes, we do. Most players have told me they completely do not understand what stats are or how to relate them. All they know is, it must be increased to win. So in today's video, I will explain to you in the most simplistic way with proper example, how to relate them or rank them. I will also explain a few more things like, why you lose some battles, so watch the whole video. I promise you probably will learn something new today and there probably be a part 2 to this video, so subscribe. Before we start, I would like to say, I am very sorry for not uploading for some time. I was going through some difficult times. Thank you for those who messaged and checked in. I love you all and you make everything possible. You have to understand reasons why you lose some battles. There's many reports where a player with lower stats beats a player with higher stats, but why does this happen? It's important to understand that Mafiacity has a lot of aspects. It's not who's stronger who always wins, it's who is more favorable that wins. So how do I become favorable, or what determines this? Let's take a look. Effective stats build. When building stats, it's very important to understand how to rank them. I will explain stats later, but I will touch a bit now. This is my stats importance ranking. Damage and health stats matters a lot. All damage stats are very important. For reference, I prefer getting 5% damage to having 30% attack. For bikers, lots of players ignore the biker charge damage, but honestly you will be unable to beat long-range troops like T11 snipers if you don't have a good charge damage. Further explanation later on. There's another stats that I consider very important. So important but it's hard to get. This is base attack and base defense. It can be gotten from babes, vigilante training room and some equipment. It's a very important thing but hard to get. Renegades and helicopter are relatively new, but both are so important. I will post a video soon on renegades, so I will touch a little on this. Renegades are very overwhelming. Using a proper renegade with support can very much be the difference between losing and winning. Sometimes you might wonder why your troops don't kill as much. Well, some renegades like the Undertaker has the ability to reduce the effectiveness or killing ability of your troops when being used by your opponent. Zyad, the detective and Korax boost troops killing rate, while renegades like Puppeteer and Celeste has the ability to put your renegade in a kind of silent state, so therefore your renegade's skills doesn't work as effective for a round. So this should be a reminder that just because a renegade is not killing, that doesn't mean the skills are inactive. Helicopters are simple to understand. It has a rock paper and scissor kind of format, so you can check what directly counters the type your opponent uses, but most importantly is the stars and investments. You see both helicopters go into battle. When one eventually gets destroyed, the other starts boosting the damage output on the owner by a bit. I want to say don't overdo it and spend a ton on this. It can be gotten for free and the difference with and without is not huge for most players, but it still helps. Special troops like T13, T12, T11 and tactical can be the difference between day and night for you. They are very strong, especially when their skills are properly developed. It's important to get the T11 and tactical troops of the troops type you play. The most important skill are these for T11. Formation is very important, but it's more tricky currently because of renegades. Your opponent formation very much can be broken if you know what you are doing. For example, take a look at these reports, stats and the troops. I changed something. For biker players you would add 1 to 10 of every troops type. In the report I showed I increased the female bikers and T10 bulkers. T10 bulkers absorbs a lot of the T10 shooters damage. T10 shooters has a skill that gives extra attack against non-bulker type troops. The reason why female bikers help against T11 shooters is because female bikers are better at using charge at long range. All this may be overwhelming, and I will try explaining in the videos ahead. Most biker players prefer using male biker because they don't easily die, unlike the female bikers. This is probably because male bikers or riders have a dodge skill. It basically gives them a chance to dodge damage while in battle. Please note the dodge skill and charge skill chance are not always active. It's something we can't control. This is also the reason many biker players focus more on biker damage, which is always active. The biker charge damage is only in effect when the charge skill is activated. So the higher the charge damage doesn't mean the more times it gets activated. It simply means higher the charge damage, the more damage done during the charge skill. Now, why do I believe female bikers are very good against long-range troops? It's simply from testing. I am not saying don't use male bikers in this situation. In fact, both male and female uses charge to target long-range troops, but at least give this a try. Against a shooter player with tons of T11, add a bit more females, but you also need bulkers to help out. Training room is so important, but still people ignore it. Training room is very important in building a solid account. For example, biker players, the charge damage stats is not the charge skill. The charge skill is a chance for biker troops to attack long-range troops of the enemy, while charge damage is the damage that is dealt during this skill activation. So many biker players ignore charge damage because they are uncertain on how many times the charge skill activates, but in Vigilante Training Room, there are slots of increase its trigger rate and so much more. Focus more on the skills of your troops type here rather than increasing stats. To be honest with you, this is probably the hardest thing to explain, and it seems the GM doesn't even totally understand this either. I don't want to just give you numbers and a boring explanation. I want to give you a creative and imaginative explanation, which will be simplified. I could give you a calculative explanation, but I know most people won't understand. For this very conflict, I didn't want to create this video at first, but you know what? There's no reward without risk, so. Now let's think of 3 things. Pay close attention. A sword, a bat, and an aluminum box. We are going to use the sword and bat as an example for explaining damage and attack in a simplified and relatable manner. Sharpness of the objects will be attack, while the force placed on the object will be damage. So the sword has a sharpness of 1700 and a force of 300, while the bat has a sharpness of 1500 and a force of 400. Both objects will hit the aluminum box. Yes, the sword's sharpness leaves a good cut, but the impact made from the bat will be far greater because much more force was placed behind the hit. This is a practical way to visualize the relationship between damage and attack. Attack helps in an effective cut, but in terms of impact, force is required to compromise what it's hitting. Next, health and defense. So let's think of a soldier wearing armor. This armor we will consider to be defense, while health is the amount of impact that shoulder can take. Think of it as sword with sharpness and damage on a soldier without armor would be bad. So the better the armor, the less likely a great cut would be made, while health is just how long the soldier can take damage while as well giving. I know this may be hard to understand, but this is the simplest way I could explain this really, so therefore health and damage are very important. There's a part 2 to this video. I will explain in that video. Charge, troops stats, a little bit of formation, why I said female bikers are good for long-range troops. Troops range, if enough time will tell you how I would spend if I was a spender and more. Thanks for watching.